it's rough, and it takes all that you've got, but he's been here, just waiting for you to knock. So take his hand and plant your feet on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to build my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to build my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to build my life on the rock.
Hi, welcome to Life on the Rock. Tonight our guests are Rose, Ray, and Annalise. They are here to talk about their new magazine, a relatively new magazine, Radiant. It's a magazine designed for young women. It talks about issues of faith and relationships and fashion and all the cultural things that young women are interested in today. It's great. I'm excited about this show. I spent some time with them this afternoon, and they are women of faith and bringing that faith to the culture.
Yeah. You could say it's a magazine that glows with the truth.
That's right.
Radiant.
Right, the splendor of truth. We also have Father Robert Spitzer. Good to have you,
Thank
Father.
you very much. Always great to be here with you, Father Mark.
Father is a Jesuit. He just taped a series on the network. He was on Father Mitch's show the other night. And I wanted to have Father on to speak about the relationship between faith and reason. We know our young people out there are getting assaulted on colleges with this new atheism. And Father, how would you describe the new atheism?
Well, it's sometimes comes under the guise of science, although there are some like Christopher Hitchens that don't take that approach. They just attack religion in general or God in general. And they purport to be intellectual, and they purport to say that somehow faith and reason can't be connected, that if you're going to be a reasonable person, a scientific person, you can't have faith. They've become media darlings, right? So they're all over the media. They certainly have very slick websites, and a lot of people are putting their quote-unquote faith in them. And it's becoming a real pressure factor right now for a lot of people in college, and not just college, but also in high school. It's, people quote Stephen Hawking, or they quote, Richard Dawkins, or whoever it may be. And so, obviously the whole thing is grounded in several false assumptions. And the real irony is today, there's more evidence for faith from science than ever before in human history. Right. I mean, we have, space-time geometry proofs that not only prove that there has to be a beginning of this universe, but just in case there was a multiverse or some kind of a bouncing universe in string theoretical higher dimensional space, just in case, but of course those are pure hypotheses, they have to have a beginning too. And so we now have a whole series of space-time geometry proofs from great physicists like Dr. Alexander Vilenkin, who's the director of the Institute of Cosmology at Tufts University. We have from Dr. Alan Guth from MIT, who holds a chair in cosmology at MIT. And also from Arvind Borda, who's director of the Kavli Institute at the University of California, Santa Barbara. These are really prestigious people. And
historically, the Catholic faith has engendered good science, right, with the university system?
Absolutely. The Jesuits themselves at the Roman College were very instrumental in bringing about just about every advance in astronomy. We see, too, that Copernicus, of course, the first one to have a heliocentric universe where, the Earth is rotating around the sun. Right. He was a Catholic cleric. Right. Gregor Mendel, of course, who discovered genetics, right, was an Augustinian monk. And, of course, Father Georges Lemaitre, Monsignor Georges Lemaitre, French, Belgian priest. He actually discovered the Big Bang Theory, which is the most rigorously established cosmological theory today.
Right. Now, the Church's teaching is that the truth of science, the truth of faith, both come from one source, right? So they can never contradict one another, right?
Sure,
so,
reason and faith are right from God, the same creative source.
So people of faith should in no way be afraid of good science, right? Because
Never.
that will, and I think too that as Christians, we believe God created the world, created the universe out of nothing. He created it with an order, with its own laws, and that presupposition is necessary for science, right?
Well,
so our faith protects good science.
It actually does,
Right.
and to top it all off, as I was saying today, if you just look at these space-time geometry proofs that we have since 1993, then 1999, then 2003 is what's called the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth proof, which really does prove a beginning of the universe.
I missed that one. That was the second.
I was just reading on that last night. So,
What would you tell simply, like maybe a young person struggling with this issue, is bordering on atheism? What would you tell him to convince them that God exists?
Well, I would say if they have a scientific inclination, I would go and look at 4 sources of scientific proof right now, and you could get those, for example, in a simplified version off of our website, or in a very complex version in my books, or the books of Borda-Vilenkin and Guth, for example.
And what is your website address? Maybe?
It's Magis, which is spelled M-A-G-I-S, which means the even more in Latin. Magis Reason Faith.org. So there's the reason faith. So M-A-G-I-S reasonfaith.org. If you go there, we've got free video casts, free podcasts, explains all the newest evidence from physics. We have interviews with 8 terrific physicists in a new documentary who talk about the evidence for God from physics.
Okay.
We also look at the evidence for your own immortality, the fact that you have a transcendent consciousness that can survive bodily death, and looking at all the leading medical journals where they've been studying near-death experiences. People have been clinically dead and have given significant amounts of evidence for the survival of a soul after death. So we take a look at just about all the major sources. But
maybe give us that first bullet point. I cut you off. You were about to mention 4, but give us the first one.
The first bullet point are the space-time geometry proofs.
Okay.
Those are very important. You might want to remember, just remember the name Dr. Alan Guth or Dr. Alexander Vilenkin. That's good enough. And in fact, those proofs are so good, Father Mark, that at the end of the day, this director of the Institute of Cosmology at Tufts University, this was the quote he gave. He said, "It is said that a good argument will convince a reasonable man, and a proof will convince even an unreasonable one." Now that the proof is in place, and that's the Borda-Vilenkin and Guth proof, now that the proof is in place, cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe. There's no escape. They must confront the reality of a beginning. And why is that so hard for people to confront? Because in physics, a beginning of the universe means that prior to that moment, the universe was literally nothing. And if the universe was nothing, we know one thing: it could only do nothing. And if the universe couldn't do anything, if it could only do nothing, then it could never have moved itself from nothing to something when it was nothing, and therefore something else, something bigger than it, transcending it, had to do it. And that is the state of the best evidence of physics today. And even people of the stature of Vilenkin and Guth, are saying this. That's the first bullet point.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And, so check out his website there and learn how to defend the faith. We must present a reasoned explanation and argument for our faith. Before we go and start our show, I just want to mention Father Miguel's pilgrimage that's coming up October 28th through November 9th. He's going to the Holy Land. He's led this pilgrimage a number of times, so if you'd like to join that, sign up. Hopefully we've got the website up on the screen. He does a good job. He's very prayerful and devotional in that pilgrimage. So if you're interested in going, check out the website. So we'll be back in just a minute with Rose Ray and Anna Liesemeyer speaking about Radiant Magazine. Don't go away. We'll be back in a minute.
No worries.
Welcome back to Life on the Rock. We go from space-time continuums to a fashion magazine. Yeah, we're happy to welcome Rose Ray and Anna Liesemeyer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And you all have started much more than a fashion magazine. It's a magazine about faith and issues really affecting young women today. And it's got a great, fresh, bold look about it. And first, let's talk about who you all are. You're both married, and how many children do you have?
Yeah, I have 2 little boys and a little lady on the way this October, so we're busy.
Yeah, I have 2 as well, so far. And they're 3 and 1. I have a boy, Gabriel, and a little girl, Veronica.
And how did y'all conceive the idea of starting a magazine?
Well, we were friends. We went to Steubenville together, and we both were involved with women's groups that were reaching out to women on campus. And we just had a passion for connecting with our peers and talking about the faith. So we went on to, it was so divine because she went on to be a graphic designer, and I went on to work for different publications in the secular world, which I loved. Magazines are so enjoyable for a woman to read, and
a high-end magazine too, right?
Yeah, it was $1 million homes, real estate, and designers, and I was really able to see the kind of effect that when I would sell ad space that they would have on the consumers. They would make all these sales, and it really went well. And I wanted to be able to take that and turn it into a fun magazine for young women with a Catholic perspective, because it's definitely great to people, you know, might want to conceal it a little bit or things like that, but I wanted to be, hey, this is what we're about. Let's speak the truth, but let's make it in a fun way. And she absolutely shared that passion, and so I called her up and we said, let's do something, and it was a no-brainer. I mean, what did it take, a week or something, and we were putting stuff together. So
So you're roommates at Steubenville, right? And your background, Anna, is?
Well, I started at Franciscan University and realized that I wanted to do something in the art field, and so I switched schools to North Georgia and finished in graphic design. And I knew that was something that, you know, I had a passion for, but of course my faith is my greatest passion. So when she asked me to be a part of this, what I think of course is an idea of the Holy Spirit now, it was like, yeah, definitely this is going to give me a chance to do what I love, but do it for God's glory. So yeah, we're both getting to do things that we love for the faith, which is pretty cool.
And what I thought was a neat idea is, I was surprised to learn you had a print magazine. I thought it was just on the internet. Why is it so important to have both?
I think it's such an important reason to have both, because the youth are online. They're all doing the social media. They want things right now. They want to see and be able to click away, which is exciting. That's why we're online. However, the goal with Radiant is to bring back excitement to our faith of all ages of those young women. And so we want, a lot of religion teachers will buy our publication, or a lot of moms will subscribe for their daughters, and you know, they might not go online to read it, but if someone hands them a copy, they might flip through and see one story and say, oh, I like that shirt. Well, let's look through, and then the next story is about the Sacraments. And we kind of disguise the articles into fun. You know, we had an article on gossip, but we called it Firefighters, because we relate it to all these different relevant ways to the girls. So we're just trying to kind of step outside the box a little bit.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just going to say, there's something about when you have something in your hands and you're reading it. Sometimes that can be so much more powerful and impacting. And you think about, you know, you're going into a bookstore and you're grabbing the magazines or the book that you want to read, and when you're looking at the cover, it's going to strike you sometimes a lot more than if you were to go online. So there's definitely a need for both, and you know, and just how people perceive.
Yeah, I think it's so true. I didn't realize that. You kind of think by the kind of usual line, well, print media is going out.
Right.
But you're right. If you're at a conference or something, you stuff backpacks with this or just pass it out. It's a great way to introduce people to the magazine. And as you told me earlier, I thought this was so true. In the supermarket, apparently a lot of people are still buying magazines, right? Because they're all over. Maybe talk about that. how you catch people's attention. Like you wanted this to be a real magazine. This is just not courier font stapled.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing that you just said that I love about our publication, where when you go to the supermarket, you know, you're buying your food, groceries, etc., and you see these magazines that are saying, be better this way, lose weight now. And it's just telling you all these ways to better yourself, or you're not enough. And we wanted to tell people you are enough. When does it finally happen to be enough? So that's why we purposely actually have a simple cover. We don't have 50 different topics right here to overwhelm people, because they're getting that every single day. And we just wanted to strike people with the beauty and kind of intrigue them.
Right. The
you know,
goal
with the
for
mystery.
the cover is always to show a radiant woman, someone who's like, you see that, and what is it about her?
Right.
What is it that she has that I want to know? I want to open the page and see, why is this woman glowing? You know, and
Is that Photoshop?
you know, I'm a little Photoshop action. So you know, it's you can see a kind of that common theme in the covers that they're all smiling, they're all joyful.
Right.
You know. So.
And it's not just kind of like a Hollywood stylized beauty, right? You have like
Natural.
normal, natural looking
Absolutely.
people. Now, Anna, you bring your own background with a blog that you have. You want to tell us a little about that? Or?
Sure. I'm a graphic designer, so I do Radiant. Of course, my my priority, but I do some other side, like, you know, freelance work, and part of that is a lot of that networking has been through my design and lifestyle blog. So that's been a really cool learning tool as well for me to learn how to there it is. How to, you know, hone my skills in graphic design, but also how to network and seeing what's relevant and what young people are really drawn to right now. And just, you know, pushing through like modest fashion and being all about my family and those, you know, values that are very important to me, but seeing like that's an area that people are really drawn to right now. You know, the blogging, and that's how they're,
So
you know,
we're
connecting.
able to take her
So-
fashion experience and tie it into Our Lady, or you know, how the virtue ties into the new designer bag, because it's all ways to make it what the youth want now, and so it's a lot of fun.
Right. So you're talking about real issues that young women, and the target group you're aiming for is?
We have women 14 to 27, so the high school and college age women.
High school. And one thing I like too about your approach is that, you know, it isn't just like kind of a chastity view that maybe can sometimes be very kind of romanticized or disconnected from reality. You all are married. You have 2 children, 1 on the way. You know the realities of life, but you also know what the goal is, what chastity, the virtue of chastity is. I mean, it's a good in itself, of course, but also how it plays out in marriage and leads to true love. Could you talk about that message a little bit that comes through in the magazine about relationships and chastity?
Yeah, we featured some good speakers on that in the magazine, as well as even a man we had talking about his relationship, how he waited for his wife, because I think it's easy when you are a teenager and then in your early 20s to think that that's the end all. You know, I want to get married and I'll have this perfect life, and it's not like that. You have to put God first, and we have, instead of just ideals in there, we have real women telling about their stories, so you can say, hey, she lived it, she did this, so we can relate to her in that way. And it's always different. God always has a different plan than what someone expects, which is so fun for us to think, showcase in that relationship aspect.
And I think that's what we want. We're so passionate about giving that message to these girls, because we've both had experiences in our life of sitting out thinking it's going to be one way, and then God totally has different plans. and they're great plans, but they were very different from what we thought they were going to be. But what's great about that message that we're trying to give to these girls, that God does know you and love you more than anyone, and he wants your happiness, and he has a purpose for you. And when you sacrifice in the sense of just not being the norm, like I'm not going to be the norm, what society tells me I have to be, it's reminding them, no, you're not the only one. There's so many other people living the faith who are with you. And you know, Rose and I both just are very blessed and found, the perfect men for us. But that was because we loved God first.
Right.
It was, we gave everything to God first and allowed Him to drive the wheel.
Right. And so that, obviously, faith is the theme that runs throughout the magazine and is guiding everything, even the way we dress and things, with the virtues of modesty.
Right, and modesty too. So growing up, the church is amazing to tell us be modest, of course, right? Well, how though? How can we attribute that to our everyday life? And that's what we're trying to tell girls. With our fashion spreads, we're saying you can be modest. This is how. We're not going to tell you no. It's not about that. It's about let's do this. Let's add this cute cardigan. Let's add this really fun skirt and give them another way out. And we even have or an alternative to what society is telling them to do. And we even have a gentleman in one of the issues writing how modesty is a way of life, how you act, whether you're too flirtatious or things like that. So it's just more depth and more
and why?
Everyday examples.
Not
right.
just this is what we believe and this is why, and
So
this is what you believe and this is what you should do. But why? What is the purpose behind this, and why do we believe this, and why is it awesome? Our faith is awesome. We should be excited about it. It's not something that we should be afraid to tell people. Or, yeah, I'm Catholic. Let me.
Or afraid to apply it to
we
our
believe
life.
I'm practicing chastity, but I'm going to say it. So it's like something that something that we want to be excited to live and apply to every aspect of our lives.
Right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Rose and Anna, so don't go away. We'll be back in a minute. Hi, welcome back to Life on the Rock. I'd like to talk more about the choice of the title Radiant and trying to bring out this ideal of beauty, right, that women really speaks to them, right, this call, a gift that they have of beauty. I know, Doug, you talk to men about this and women about this effect, influence.
About being radiant?
About being radiant. I'm trying to get there.
Men, we need to be radiant. Really find the inner beauty of a man. Well, in fact, I was, during the break just mentioning, I just last fall I gave it a talk, and one of my daughter's friends had asked me to give a talk to some of her college friends about the impact of a woman, the influence that the true beauty of a woman has over men. And they advertised it for 3 weeks on Facebook, and to some friends. We had 80 girls show up, 80 young ladies show up, half of them with pen and paper, ready to go, because women, I think, really are craving a deeper understanding, because you're really wired and created by God as a beauty, as a treasure, as a not as a trophy, but as a prize to win, for men to pursue, to win in the right and proper way. Holy Mother Church, the Blessed Mother, my wife, my daughter. I mean, there's this beautiful complementary nature between men and women that I think your magazine is really speaking to, really trying to draw that out of women, helping them see, wow, ladies, you got an inner glow about you that's just incredible. Right?
Right.
And we're called. It's not just something that we hope to. Everyone's called to do this. We have this gift of, I think a woman can be intriguing or a mystery to a man, and he needs to have the opportunity to pursue her and to unwrap that mystery, just like our faith. And that's what we're trying to say is, don't throw it out there. Don't give yourself away to everyone. You need to capture that and let it be earned, because we do. I mean, as much as a man is responsible for his actions, we can call them to be more. And we need to.
Well, how does the faith help a woman to do this, to realize this call to beauty or this desire she has in her heart to be radiant? How does the faith help her to do that?
I think, what really helped me when I was growing up was that confidence is where I found that confidence of who I was, was that, okay, my dad did an amazing job with all of his daughters, was that he reminded us.
There's a lot, right? How many?
Yes,
family?
There's 8 girls and 3 boys. And he would tell us, each and every one of us, he would say,
Hold on, your dad?
Yes.
9 women in the home.
9 women in the home. He survived, believe it or
The
not.
guys in the crowd are like, whoa. Bless him.
And he would tell each one of us, you are a daughter of the king. You are a princess. You know, don't settle for anything less than what God has for you, because that's going to be the greatest thing ever. So that was like, wow, I have to seek what God created me to be. And I like really took a lot of confidence in that. Like God made me, I'm his daughter. What is he calling me to do? It's that I am unique, have a mission. And each girl, it's like to give that confidence to each girl that you have a mission to. Like, you are important in this life. You are beautiful in God's eyes, and when you see that, you'll be able to really own that and to live confidently, and that's what will attract the right man.
Right. And I know we hear a lot from people of faith talking about relationships, desire to be married, and I want to say, yeah, that's great. You want to be married, you want to have children, but sometimes you hear people kind of make it an idol, even people of faith. And what you're talking about is that our faith teaches us that God loves us as individuals, as his children, right? And would put God first, right? Can you talk about in your own life and maybe your own journey to marriage, how did that play out?
Well, I actually didn't think I had a vocation to marriage for a while. Didn't think I could ever find a guy I liked enough that I could marry. So
you were looking for St. Joseph, right?
Yeah, I discerned a vocation, and God told me that he wasn't calling me. And then I really was like, all right, well, you better tell me who the guy is, because I haven't met, I can't imagine a guy that I'm going to love enough to get married. But I gave God everything, in the sense that he was my first love. That was the first thing, the first person. You look at God, and it was something that really I knew I was living my life for. So I knew that he was going to be the one to show me. And sure enough, when I met my husband for the very first time, I felt a little like nudge that this is the guy. And sure enough, he had to really, poor guy had to work hard to break down all the walls. But he really did have to do the pursuing thing.
Getting that feel that he probably had a lot of nights thinking, whoa, what am I going to get the point across? I care about her.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I got to ask this then, the proposal, when you proposed, how did that go? Because the crowd wants to know.
It went very well. I said yes.
Yeah, but what did he do?
How
slick was he?
He was pretty slick. When I was in a meeting, he filled my car with rose petals, and then put in a CD that he made, and said "Play Me" on it. Put it in the car, and he came on and was like, "All right, I have this playlist for you. Meet me at the place where we do adoration." And sure enough, he's there waiting for me with his suit and a bouquet of roses. I had to drive 20 minutes, as imagine you girls knowing you're going to get engaged and you're driving. And you're like, okay, am I supposed to cry? What am I wearing? So.
And being a fashion person, you probably had to pull over somewhere.
I did.
Find a cute cardigan sweater, some accessories, something.
Put on some earrings. So, he did a really great job.
Awesome.
But you talk as well about how he really stretched you, and even it wasn't totally what you had planned or expected, right?
No, definitely. And I think, you set out with this idea of what your life is going to be like, and when it turns out not to be, but luckily it's a lot better, because God has he knows you better than you know yourself.
Right.
So his plan ends up being 10 times better than you plan it to be.
And I think that's so important, because sometimes we hear, I've heard women say, they've got a checklist, this is what they're looking for, and they're still not married, and it's going longer and longer. And sometimes you want to say, well, maybe just surrender everything and put it in God's hand, put him first.
Throw out your specific list and have your ideals and your most importance in place.
Right.
Man of God,
right.
Okay, sense of humor, that was huge for me,
Right.
Things like that. And then if you're really seeking God's will for you, then
Yeah.
He'll wow you with
Yeah.
the right one.
Anna, you had a great story about
Rose.
meeting, or sorry, Rose, how did you meet your husband?
Yeah, I'd prayed for a really long time, and I expected, fireworks and all the fake stuff that would never happen. And but it was crazy. Just like Anna, I totally surrendered it, and we were sat next to each other on an airplane. So we had a 3-hour flight to discuss things, and it was a whirlwind ever since then. He wasn't this dream Catholic perfect man I thought I'd meet. He was so much better. It was a beautiful conversion story. He's in the Navy, so he has a dangerous profession, and he risks his life all the time, and it's very special to share the faith with him.
And so he converted before you got married.
Yes. Yep. God really worked on his soul during a deployment, and through a really powerful man in Virginia Beach named John Domingo, he came to the faith.
Right. And you admired, respected about him the virtue of humility, you said, right?
Absolutely. He was very humble in a world that a lot of men are not. I think it's a lot about that we've seen. It can be, what can we do for me? I think a lot of single people can have that mentality, what me. And I just saw a very giving soul, and I was really taken back by his humility.
And even approaching marriage, relationships, what can I get out of it, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Or if it's not working for me, see ya.
Right.
But it was all about, I want to do this, what can I do for you,
Right.
and how can we make this work? So it was really wonderful.
So you have articles about relationships, about marriage, about these themes, but also just about theology, right, in the magazine. You did a whole series on the sacraments.
Yep,
and-
we did the sacraments relating to, again, everyday life for a woman.
Right.
So, how marriage matters to them, and Eucharistic, all those wonderful things, and even holy orders. It was just really wonderful. And then we cover some of the virtues, and we also, all the things that can affect us in our faith, and we're moving forward with some more interesting subjects for our fall issue, which we're excited to share. It comes out this August.
You want to preempt that and tell us?
Yeah, we have, funny enough, with your intro, we have an article on faith and reason. We have a real woman, real hero
From a
story.
fashion perspective? Or?
Not that one, because we want to do the well-rounded. So we've got a lot of different avenues. And then we do have top 10 tips to be fashionable this fall in a modest way. And then we also have
So we have more on cute sweaters and things like that.
leggings, shoes, that good stuff.
Perfect.
But how we can be women of Christ still. So it'll be really exciting.
Now
So-
you do promote like certain clothes vendors and things, is that correct?
It's not necessarily promoting them. I pull from different websites, and it's more like ideas of ways to make make that part of your life, relevant to what that goal of modesty is. So, we like to promote modesty. Well, here's some fun ways to do it, where it's
And you're
not
telling
like
people like where they can buy
yeah.
it. Right.
So, for instance, in the fall issue, Rose and I will, for the first time, each of us have our top picks for how to add, color to your wardrobe in the fall or whatever.
It's
how you
not
want to word it,
brown
but
year-round? Is that
brown didn't make the cut. But so yeah, we promote a lot of times to fashion bloggers who do modest clothing. So it's kind of a way to remind girls that you're not the only one that is dressing in a way that reflects God's glory.
That is a theme you all keep coming back to, that you're not alone.
Yes, because I think at that age, that's what's most important. I think your parents and your family is such an important key in your faith, especially when you're growing up. But when you reach that age, peers is one of the most influential aspect of your life. And if you feel that you have other people that are in that Catholic family with you, that universal church, it's going to be a lot more easy to be excited about. That's why,
Go against the crowd.
and right. I definitely know, and when I was in high school, going to different events where there was a lot of other young Catholics, it was like, okay, this is awesome, because
It's empowering,
it's
strengthening.
empowering.
Right?
And that's in our mission statement, to empower and inspire and encourage women.
Right. Now, You know, it seemed like a key to success of any venture like this, and what you all are doing is you're drawing from many different sources. How do you get your writers for all these different articles and things?
Well, we have, amazingly enough, the women mostly come to me. So they say, we read your magazine and we feel the same way and I love to write. And I always ask every writer when I work with them, what's your passion? Because we all have something that we can give to make the beautiful body of Christ. So someone will be passionate about philosophy, and someone will be passionate about fashion, and someone else is passionate about a certain, subject of the faith. So I always try to cater on that, because they're going to work that much harder and that much stronger to share what they feel passionate about.
Seems to me like one of the gifts of the internet is just tapping in for Catholics, just tapping into this huge resource of oftentimes stay-at-home moms who are great writers and have great insights, and that you all can bring this to a public forum. I think that's just tremendous. So, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 1 minute with Rose and Anna Liesemeyer, so don't go away. We'll be back in a minute. Hi, welcome back. One aspect about the magazine I want to talk about is your section on real women, real heroes. I read a couple of those. Tell us about that section.
Yeah, a lot of the magazine is about fun things and still talking about our faith, but I take that section very serious because we all relate to people who we can see did something, not someone just telling you something, do this, do that. And the Real Women, Real Heroes section talks about someone who's been through something very difficult in their life, or life-changing, and how they worked through it, how they came through. And a couple of the good examples that blew me away was one of the women was in her young 20s and was found out she was pregnant with conjoined twins. And of course, the easy option in the world would be just to abort them, but she chose to carry them through all the way. They told her they wouldn't survive. And she was able to spend 40 amazing minutes with those babies. And she talked about how she went through the journey and what it was like. And I mean, it's so powerful to see that. And another woman was at the earthquake, when the earthquake at Haiti happened, and how she was helping the children who lost their mothers and fathers minutes after the earthquake happened. And that just brings into perspective that, not everything in the world is about celebrity or about them fun things. I mean, people are going through this every day, and they're young women, and what we can learn from them. I mean, it's really beautiful.
To be, aware of what's going on in the world around you, and also with the nonprofit section that we feature, there's
explain what the nonprofit section.
That's the first page that you see in every issue. It features a nonprofit organization. So with both of those features, it's and usually the organization, they're all Catholic, so it's gives that awareness of how you can get involved in the faith in different ways, but also with the Real Women, Real Heroes, it's just relating that every person around you is going through something, and every person has their story, their walk with Christ.
I think that is so insightful to put that in the magazine too. I mean, you're holding up heroic virtues, or people doing great things or overcoming difficulties. We call them saints, in the church, do that and model that for us. And you show average, in a sense, normal people doing this. But also the service projects. Young people love service, right? And that communicates what life is about. Really, it's about giving, right? And
it shows our give back sections are, you can buy a luggage tag and support ending human trafficking in different countries. That was one of our sections. We don't have to be 45-year-old women making $1 million to be able to give back that way. We can give back in a small way now and still make a difference.
And you said, you told me one of your favorite stories was this woman talking about buying a diaper bag. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it just kind of puts into perspective what we're trying to do.
Wasn't the Real Heroes story.
It was not the Real Women, Real Heroes story, but so we'll take a virtue, or this one was a beatitude. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And so we called it Bags and Beatitudes. And this really clever writer related how does that beatitude relate to our life? Well, she really wanted this designer diaper bag. And of course, you have that moment where you're like, I need it.
Yeah, well, who would?
Well, I guess. And then she just talked about, and then she looked at the face of her child pulling on her leg, and she just said, who even, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm looking at the face of God right here. So it's really beautiful.
And that beatitude, that pure of heart, being purified of false idols, that putting
Absolutely.
God first.
And
Yeah.
that's how we can relate it to a 15-year-old girl, where
Right.
I would have never thought of that. That's why I love having these wonderful writers around us who are able to really make it relevant.
So then she didn't get the bag? Or
She
did-
didn't get the
She
bag.
didn't, okay.
Her
You-
child
some of you
won.
were wondering,
Her child
did she go
won.
through with it? No.
But you had another great story too about, and this is so common too. It's a young woman who was disillusioned by her father. The father left the family, and it caused a lot of distress for her personally, and it really made her come to see God as Father in a very real, very deeper way. Did you want to talk about that one?
Well, she's just an incredibly inspiring person
Yeah.
because she did have to go through a great suffering of losing someone so important in their life, and who she thought was someone and turned out to be someone else. And here she comes out stronger in her faith, and because she had this moment of realizing, like, God is my Father,
Right.
and
It brings a huge point, because as you were mentioning, what happens to the women who hurt or who don't have a perfect life, as far as, they're not given the faith when they're born. They're not raised in a holy Catholic environment where they're taught they are enough. And she had the choice. She was given this situation where a lot of women will turn to a man. When you get abandoned by your father, or when things change, then you search for the next fastest thing. Well, this boyfriend loves me, and so he is my it right now.
or you go through the opposite of anti-men,
Or
or
turn
I
away.
hate
yeah,
men.
and she was able to say through prayer, and I can't imagine the hardship, but to say that, you know what, I am going to choose Christ. I don't have my father right now, so I'm going to choose Christ. And that, I think that story is going to inspire a lot of women who wonder, okay, what am I supposed to do now? My life isn't what I wanted it to be. Women can't choose what's going to happen to them, or what kind of environment, or if they were abused by a boyfriend or sexually molested, all these things that will deeply affect a woman's life. So
And
we're
it's
trying to
that-
show that they can be
Right.
bigger, and God will absolutely heal those wounds if
that
they let
reminder
Him.
that God is the only constant in your life,
And
that
that-
He's the one that will never leave.
And that's a key thing, isn't it? Especially for ladies, is just as a man is wired to pursue a woman and win her heart as a treasure, women are to be pursued, and I don't mean this in some chauvinistic way, but
No.
there is an order that is very complementary by God's design for one another. So when there's an abusive situation, emotionally, physically, sexually, in some sense, there's a wound there for a lot of women that is very, very, very painful.
And a man will never fill.
Exactly.
They will go
Right.
from relationship
Right.
to relationship,
Right.
wondering why they're not happy, and only Christ can fill that
And
void.
even for me, I can't look to my husband to be the ultimate everything. I can't look to him to be, the answer to all of my happiness. God has, put us together to walk through this life together, and that has been what my happiness has come from. But it was God first, It's Him that is the constant for both of us. He's our most important. So
Right.
I think that is in every relation.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's after just
Every-
22 years of marriage. For me and my wife, that you find that there is a place in the heart of every man and woman that is reserved for God, that God keeps for Himself. It's like my wife and I are very, very close. I have an amazing wife, and we are very, very close. But there is something still that I can't give to her, and she can't give to me, that is reserved solely for a relationship with God. While we have to have a prayer life that is together, we have to have that individual contemplative life just with God.
Right.
And that is the answer to a lot of those wounds. I mean,
Right.
to all those wounds,
Because in every relationship issue, we talk about that, how just, God first, like, don't seek, Mr. Charming and someone who you expect to be your everything, you know.
And I think even I thought when with marriage, it will be easier, right? Because you have this partner. But in my situation, when I have a husband who's deploying all the time, then, you know, I didn't realize how much more in my marriage I need God now than even before I was single, because he has to help me through all of those situations.
And I think Catholics can be so good at giving this message because we have celibate vocations, right, to religious life, the priesthood. And, you know, we're not saying these people are eternally frustrated in this life. No, we say God is their focus, their all. And I think that's a huge piece that we bring to the argument, to this discussion about marriage and for marriage even. Let's talk about, it's also, we're talking about heavy topics, but there's also a lot of fun, good kind of teenage type fun. You have a lot of humor in the magazine. Can you talk about some of the humorous?
Yeah, I love our humorous writers because I think we need that. You need to laugh. Our faith is not boring. It's really fun. And so one of our writers talks about how to lose a Catholic guy in 1 date or less. So a lot of funny ways that you could do that, whether you're going to the bathroom and texting him missing you on your first date, or looking up all of his.
Having him meet you at a 6:30 a.m. mass.
Yeah, have him meet you at a mass to discern your vocation on the first date.
Yeah.
And then we had, oh gosh, we had another really funny story on your happily ever after reality check, kind of, you know, what you think your life is going to be like, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. So, you know, we have to bring the humor to it. It's really a lot of fun.
And you also have a movie to movement section. What is that?
That was actually one of the give back sections.
Okay.
And so that is a great movement that tells people all over, anyone can look it up, that great Christian movies to support.
But we do feature movies sometimes, like October Baby was in the last issue. We interviewed the producer.
The Irwin brothers. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, we highlight different music artists
Right.
to just because, you know, when that age range is, you're always wanting to know what the next great artist, music artist is.
And before
what
Radiant, I had no idea that there were so many young women doing so many different movements. Like Lila Rose, who runs pro-life movement, that's all over the U.S. She's our age. You know, and a girl named Jennifer Miller, who's running this amazing scientist, making the ethics more practical and more faith-based. And there's so many young women that are doing it now. So it's so inspiring to me to learn about these women, so that's why we're excited to share them.
And you're tapping into a lot of these bloggers, right? They're blogging from their basements, right?
She's the blogger pro. She learns all about the ones who have conversions and all these fun stories, so it's really interesting.
And you have a health section. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's not every issue, but we definitely want to highlight, for instance, you know, we put in birth control, you know, get the facts, it was called, because okay, I'm not supposed to take it because it's wrong, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, there's also a health reason of why it's, you know, it can affect you for heart attacks. So we went from the health perspective of it. And then another one we did was on depression, because a lot of women can struggle with depression. So they'll just give them medication and treat the symptoms. Well, we wanted to get into that and talk about, just like in the faith, how it's such a balance. You need to have the spiritual treatment as well as the medicine, I mean, or however the counseling.
And what about the spiritual life? What kind of tips have come out in the magazine about what a young person can do for a prayer life or different devotions to have? Is any?
I think, you know, we've hit on certain virtues, but we've also hit on, you know, aspects of Mary you can emulate in your own life.
The virtues of Mary, I saw that.
Yeah, the virtues of Mary, because she's, you know, such a great example of what a real, humble, beautiful woman is.
Right.
And so it's relating that to.
And you mentioned adoration in your own life, I think.
Yeah.
You were proposed to at an adoration
Yes,
chapel.
well, that was the plan, and then there ended up being this wedding going on in the adoration chapel. So he told me later he got really nervous and had to do it right outside. But yeah, so that was what we did in dating, just to stay focused on and to help live our chastity.
You know, one thing I like to try to do on the show is to show you know, young, happily married couples and things, and just to reconvince, it seems like, our culture of the goodness of marriage. And certainly any young person's magazine's got to address this issue. I know you told me earlier
Gosh, it's just,
and about how it's helped to support you and to even become your deepest
Right.
desires and fulfillment?
Well, I feel like there's such a negative connotation now that comes with getting married and having children. It's like my life's going to end when I get after, I have the magical wedding and then I have kids and then my life's over. So I gotta live it up now. I gotta have this great career. I gotta travel. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And it's, I got married. And had my first child, and I was 24. So it's younger now. But for me, that's what I was created for. So it's now I'm living the best years of my life. I feel like I found like my vocation. Like it makes me deeply happy, even though it's challenging. Yeah, but finding the right person. My husband really is that support and that encouragement, and he gave me so much confidence in who I was.
Right.
So I just feel like I really grew into my own and became the best of myself post-marriage. And I think, that negative fear of, oh my gosh, I can't settle down yet. I can't commit to someone yet. I can't have kids. It'll weigh me down. No, like Rose and I are doing God's work now, not before we got married. We're doing it now. And it's because we know who we are, where we want to go, and what we want to do for God. But that's a result of, finding the right vocation.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you
It's a great
for
way to
having
end.
us.
And we'll be sure to give Doug a copy of that every month. So,
Cardigan sweaters.
Our Heavenly Father, shine His face upon you and give you His peace. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. We'll see you next week.